Hello again, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. I'm Gary Mack.
And Rich Baxter over here. Is this the great Gary Mack? I don't recognize you, Gary.
Yes, I had a little taken off the top, well, quite a bit. I got my actually, it's my second pandemic haircut. I had gotten it cut, and then it just it grew back, and then I just kind of let it go for a while, and came to the point the other day that it was just too much. So I asked the missus to take it off, and um,
She did a
there it is.
wonderful
It's
job.
gone. Yes, did a great job. So this is it. This is the summer look now. So
This is
we'll
your
see.
summer baseball cut.
There you go. It's. I think everybody should have look like this for baseball.
Yeah, clean cut, ready for the field.
The good old days. Remember those when everybody had crew cuts and stuff?
Yeah,
All the
yeah,
athletes and
yep.
those days are long gone, Rich, with the dreadlocks and the long hair and but yep, all cleaned up and ready to go, Rich.
Very cool. Yeah, and we want to invite our podcast listeners to our YouTube page. Did you know we recorded the show each week on video for you? Check it out over there at YouTube. Just spell in the Baseball Talk Radio Show and you'll see our logo. Chances are you'll see some of our videos too. So hit that subscribe button because we need to get up to 1,000 subscribers on our channel. We're getting there. We're inching there, inch by inch. But we'd like to have a couple hundred people hit that subscribe button. So if you're on YouTube, check it out. Hit the subscribe button.
That's it for sure. And if you'd like to support the show even further, you can go to our Patreon page, patreon.com, baseball talk, and you can, help us out there a little bit if you prefer. Or you can go to anchor.fm/baseball talk radio show, and it'll tell you how you can help out the show. So if you're so inclined to support the show financially, please do. It would really be a great help for us, and we're working on some different things that we can do, even possibly some live shows again. We used to do some live shows. Rich, remember the good old days? I don't know how we could do it with Zoom. Not quite, didn't quite conquer that yet, but there are some things we can try. So,
Oh
um,
yeah, we're always pushing the envelope of what we can get away with, recording the show, and always trying to constantly improve it as well. So
that's it.
we do it for our listeners. We like to put out a nice product, and we appreciate your support.
Yes, we do. And Rich, turning to baseball, last week we were talking about Albert Pujols, and he's staying put in Los Angeles, at least. No longer with the Angels. He's moving over a few miles to the Dodgers, and he's agreed to a major league contract for the rest of the season. According to the LA Times, signing comes a week after the Angels let the future Hall of Famer go. He reportedly got interest or had interest from a couple of teams, including his former team, the Cardinals, but he decided to join the Dodgers as they go for their second consecutive World Series championship. Looks like he'll come off the bench and as a pinch hitter, and maybe he'll play a little bit of first. But they got Max Muncy playing first, is having a pretty good year. So, barring an injury, Pujols will probably be like the key pinch hitter off the bench, and perhaps he'll start a couple games at first. But we thought somebody would pick him up, and here the Dodgers did.
Yeah, and it was probably either going to be a team like the Dodgers or the Yankees, unfortunately. And like you said, yeah, they'll probably be able to use him. He had the 198 batting average, which caused his release from the Angels eventually. They just didn't want to keep carrying him because they're doing better this year. And they thought he might be detracting, even though he had 5 home runs and 12 ribbies. We'll see. He probably has at least the end of the season left in him. And who knows, maybe even next year. Uh, Players have gone on, an extra year over their career type of ending type thing. Like I remember Ryan Howard when he uh, ended his career, he actually had a second thought, and the Braves brought him back for a short time, put him into the minors, and he didn't quite make it there either. So there comes a time when things can collapse for a baseball player, but apparently not for Pujols yet. So we'll keep an eye on it. And good for him. He's playing a game that he loves. I don't like the Dodgers getting him because they're like the Yankees.
Yeah, they're the West Coast Yankees, right?
Yeah,
They've got all kinds of a power, but they've had a rough time with injuries this year so far, and now they just lost Corey Seager, who fractured his right hand um, in yesterday's win against the Marlins. There, he took a pitch in the fifth inning, I think it was, and hit by a pitch. And X-rays showed a fracture, so they don't know how long he'll be out. So they've lost a lot of guys to injuries, but they're still keeping their head above water, and I guess that's really the key when you come down to it.
that's true. And speaking of the Yankees, they had a big story in the news in the past week, and they were hit with the COVID bug. Now, even though they were supposedly vaccinated, about 7 players came down, 8 players actually. Gleyber Torres was the eighth uh, person, including coaches, to be struck by the COVID virus, even though they had all been fully vaccinated, which is amazing to me. But reading into the story a little bit, they said that Johnson and Johnson was the vaccine, and if you remember reading anything about that, didn't have a very high um, rating amongst the vaccines.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not.
that was the other ones were 90 something percent, and I think they were in the 60 to 70 range. So I wonder why they went in that direction. Obviously, because it was a one shot thing, the Johnson and Johnson, but you know, um, it does make you wonder a little bit. But
And it does say, of course, even though a small percentage of fully vaccinated people will get sick, vaccination will protect most people from getting sick. So, didn't protect the Yankees, but the games played on. I thought of you when we were talking about the Mets a couple weeks ago and the Nationals at the beginning of the season.
yeah.
They didn't play on, so to speak, but the Yankees played on. So true to MLB rules as they announced it, the games went on and didn't really cause the team to suffer all that much.
Well, I guess when you have to figure it too, that if they were vaccinated, which they said they were vaccinated, that perhaps they really didn't get ill either. Um, you know, or it wasn't as severe as it was last year when somebody got it. Like Freddie Freeman got it last year and was in really bad shape. They thought they were going to have to take him to the hospital at one point. Um, Now with the vaccinations, it might be a simple, like you get a mild case of the flu, and that's really what the vaccinations are for. It doesn't, people get the wrong impression. It doesn't make you bulletproof to it. It
Mm-hmm.
just it usually it reduces the symptoms as with the flu vaccine. The flu vaccine doesn't mean you're not going to get the flu. It just means that that it's not as a severe reaction to it because the medicine is in your system naturally fighting it. So it's the same thing with this. Hopefully you don't get it, and with a 94% or whatever that some of these vaccines are, there's a chance you're not. But if you do, the symptoms are not going to be as severe. So
Yeah, so that's a good thing. And obviously, the Yankees haven't been adversely affected by it that much, but still, you got that vaccination happening, you got the reinfection, and then you have this week where we had the CDC saying that, oh, yeah, by the way, if you're vaccinated, you can take the mask off outside and inside. In some places, a lot of stores across the country said, okay, you don't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated. And even though they're not going to check it, but I don't know. I work in a public type of role, so I'm going to be wearing my mask because I don't want to take a
uh
chance of getting it,
right,
whether it
right.
be, regardless. But interesting the way this whole thing is taking a gigantic left turn here with the CDC now saying that, masks you can ditch if you're vaccinated, and a lot of places opening up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they changed their rules at the whim.
Yeah, it seems like,
It
you know,
seems like that, doesn't it?
yeah, we go from
I don't know.
one thing where we hear it might be 6 weeks off to 2 months off to the middle of the summer to, okay, by the way, this week, take your masks off type of thing.
Hmm. Well, you just got to keep rolling and see what happens, and it's a terrible thing, and it's been a very rough time, and uh, uh, just uh, just a shame in a way because it's really made for some terrible things going on, and um, really stunted a lot of people's life and
Yes, it
what
did.
they could do. So I mean, it even changes the way you think. I'd love to go to a ball game, but I'm leery and I'm fully vaccinated. So, but
Right. Yeah. It's a double edged sword, so to speak. You don't want to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And, that could lead to that situation in a big crowd, things like that, breathing in the same air, that kind of thing. But we got
yeah.
another big story that happened around baseball this week, Gary, and Alex Rodriguez. He tried to put a bid in for the Mets a few months ago, was outbid for that, but he's destined to own a piece of a team. And this past week, he successfully placed an offer for the Minnesota Timberwolves, along with billionaire Mark Lure. This was reported on Fox Business. They bought the team for $1.5 billion.
Wow.
So, big purchase there. A-Rod just can't sit still, and he didn't get back into baseball, but he's going to own a piece of the Timberwolves.
Well, good for him. He wanted to be an owner or something, so there he goes. He's got it now.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like we've been hearing a lot of different teams that he's been interested in, and partnering up with a big name billionaire, Mark Lure. Uh, Not sure what the percentage of ownership it is on his part, but of course, he was outbid for the Mets by Steve Cohen for $2.42 billion for the Mets. That's quite a lot of money there. Um, and of course, A-Rod worth about $441 million. So put some money up, and now he's part owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves of
You just
basketball.
gotta, you just gotta wonder though, do they have enough money I think that article said the guy was worth 320 million, and what did you say A-Rod was worth?
Says $441 million on this.
I mean, and yet that's about 700 million, and yet they purchased for 1.5 billion, and they're not putting up their own money. So how much did they actually float? And you know, how much of that, what sort of, I don't know how they draw or anything like that, but what sort of money are they going to have to run the actual franchise,
Yeah.
And you often wonder about that, and how does he fit? I mean, a baseball makes sense, but basketball, I don't know what he has to offer there. But it's a name, and the it just seems like odd. It doesn't seem like it seems like a. I don't want to disparage Minnesota, but it's sort of a low profile team for A-Rod to get involved. You would think.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But it does say a group, so there's probably other people putting up money besides just those two guys. So that's how they can cover. But you know what I mean? It's just maybe you figure he'll get his feet wet that way, and
yeah, and it
they're
does
buying.
say in the fine print here, the current owner signed an exclusive letter of intent regarding the
Mhm.
purchase of the Minnesota Timberwolves.
And the
The deal,
Lynx too,
yeah, yeah, the deal
the
structure
WNBA
initially,
team.
yeah, two
So
big
it's two
teams there,
teams. Yeah, yeah,
limited partnership stakes. So and initially, what do they put into it, and what can they get out of it? Are they going to, you know, I imagine that's going to be a long term type investment. So I don't know if I would have done that if I was A-Rod. I think I would
yeah.
prefer to be more liquid.
Well, he may feel that he's getting into ownership. He can learn from the current owner, and they can continue to move on, and then they can move into total ownership, and they'll have some experience at least by then, and maybe you can use it as a stepping stone to another franchise, a baseball team, perhaps. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. So A-Rod, Sunday night baseball commentator, and now going to be basketball team owner.
Yeah, yeah. And Rich, we've often talked about analytics and how it's gotten too much into baseball. Well, it was an interesting story about Madison Bumgarner, who is uh, turned around his performance this year. And, he struggled last year. He signed with Arizona, struggled last year in the short season, and he started off slow this year, but he has turned it around over his last uh, couple of starts. He's been, practically unhittable. And it's interesting what the difference is. Now, over his first three starts, the average velocity on his cut fastball was 84.8 miles per hour. And lately, his last couple of starts, it's been averaging 87.1 miles per hour. And the same thing happened with his four seamer. He went up a couple of miles per hour, and his curveball went up. And it's interesting because what he did was his uh, his coach told him to ignore the analytics and just throw the ball. Get back to executing and pitching, and forget about velocity and the track man and all the other analytics and the video. Just forget all of that crap. Clear your head, and the results have been magnificent. He's been pitching much better. His velocity is going up, and there you go. I mean, I analysis by paralysis by analysis. They get too much of this garbage, and I think a lot of it is why the hitting's down in across baseball. I think these guys are so wired with video and exit velocities and launch angles, and they can't hit anymore. Yogi Berra, he goes up and he said, "Go up and hit the ball. See the ball, hit the ball." And I think when they do that, they're going to find out that they're going to do better than all of this crap put together.
Yeah, they have to clear their heads, as you said, and just get down to playing the mechanics of the game. If I was a player, I would tune all that stuff out as best as possible, even though that's one of the measurements that a lot of teams use now. They're all into the numbers of, this, that, and the other. But basically, the game's always been boiled down to what you do on the field. And, if that's translating into great numbers and these cybermetric numbers or whatever they call it now, then fine. But if you have to get down to playing the game and concentrating and not thinking about the other thing, because that could drive you batty in addition to not make you play well.
It was also interesting. I was watching something, watching a Met game. Actually, they're in Tampa Bay, not playing well. But somebody asked one of the reporters asked, why does Tampa Bay keep? They don't spend money, and yet they keep, producing good ball players and things like that. And one of the things that they do, because everybody thinks they're very analytic and all of this, and they are to a certain extent. But one of the things that they do is to realize what a player's strength is and to utilize that. An example that they gave was if a pitcher come over and they really, they look through his past performances and realize he threw a strike X amount of time with his curveball, but he was only throwing his curveball 14 times a game or 14% of the time, try throwing your curveball more. And so it's kind of a simple thing, but it it's something that they discovered, and you could discover it while either looking at it or using the analytics, I guess. I guess the point is it's not this deep analytics that everybody thinks it is, that everybody talks about with all of these, data and spreadsheets and all of this stuff. That sometimes it's as simple as that they find one little number and that's what they work on. But we said this for a number of years. People get too, you know, um, too
Wrapped up in.
confused. Yeah, too wrapped up. You can't go up the hit and think that got to keep 13-degree angle. It's the same thing in golf. You go up to golf and you're thinking, I get my left arm straight, this, bring my. Sometimes you just got to get up and whack the ball, and baseball's no different. You've got to see the ball, hit it where it's pitched. If it's outside, take it to the right side.
Yeah.
Don't worry about launch angles and velocity, and it's we said this before. If Aaron Judge hits a home run 500 feet or 385 feet, if it clears the wall, it's still one run, unless there's people on base, of course. But technically, it's still one run. It doesn't matter how far you hit it, a single that bloops in or is a line drive is still a single. It's not going to change anything. Um, they have to get back to basics and stuff. They're just too much fiddling around. The Mets fired their hitting coach. And I talk about the Mets because I do a show called Mets Musing, so that's why I'm familiar. But they fired the hitting coach, and one of the reasons was the players felt they weren't getting enough detailed instruction, and they weren't getting enough charts and this that. Well, maybe that's why you're not hitting. You weren't hitting because you had too many of these damn charts you're looking at and looking at video during the game. No, we didn't do any of that. You concentrate on the game, you concentrate on the pitcher. Never mind watching what you did at your last at bat. I think baseball should ban all video during the game in the dugouts, and now they're back with the iPads. And
Yeah, when you
first
look,
off,
yep, I agree.
go ahead.
I was just going to say that, yeah, you're taking your attention, focusing it on a pad, seeing how you looked, perhaps the numbers, the percentages. It comes down to executing physically on the field. So I agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And get your head in the game. Never mind worried about what you did. It's a team sport played by individuals, but you know, don't worry about it. Just go out and keep your head in the game. And your next time at bat is another thing completely. And look, if a coach comes and says, "Well, you know, he's throwing you a curveball at 2-2 or something like that," that's different. But you know, we played this game for 100 and some odd years before they had all of this garbage, and I don't think it's helping any.
Yeah, it's probably hurting the players more than anything. Well, speaking of hurting things, in the past week we had another story on baseball, and I kind of found this astounding. It kind of, excuse me, snuck up on me. Um, the story, and we talked about it in the past couple shows. Baseball card collecting has been back and wildly popular for the past few months. Target, the shopping chain, has pulled trading cards from the shelves nationwide following a violent attack in Wisconsin. If you can believe that. Um, and the story goes right from CBS Minnesota here. Collecting baseball cards seems like a calm hobby, but it's apparently bringing out the worst in some people, leading to a big change at a major retailer. As of Thursday this past week, Target will no longer sell MLB, NBA, NFL, and Pokemon cards. The temporary stoppage is because of aggressive encounters between customers clamoring for the collectibles. So, you know, and I can firsthand say that that's true. I mean, I've been in Target, and I used to go to Target specifically for their baseball cards because, believe it or not,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you can't buy them too many places in store. They used to have mom and
Right,
pop collectible shops that you could go in,
right.
you know, but Target had a wonderful selection, a big selection of cards for years. And, you know, for this to show itself was amazing. But there was 4 people attacked um, at a Target in Brookfield, Wisconsin, and it was over a disagreement about buying sports trading cards. One wanted a case, the other one
Wow.
thought it was theirs, and you know, I don't think they should have banned it nationwide, though. I mean, I don't think. I think that's a isolated incident of some people getting a little carried away with themselves, so to speak. Why would you ban the sales of cards nationwide based upon that event? That baffles me. Target took a drop in my you know estimation of stores that make decisions like that.
Well, they're probably looking for a corporate decision or something and waiting to see what the market, or maybe they're trying to create more of a demand for it, you know, supply and demand. Um, if they take it off the market, people will be clamoring, and they'll be on their best behavior when they if they do well. It's like if we bring it back, you better be good little boys and girls, and they'll all be good little boys and girls. But yeah, you're right. It's tough to get, and it's not like when I was a kid. We had candy stores in Queens, New York, and you can get a pack for a nickel with a
Yeah.
piece of gum. You got 5 cards or something. Now they sell these multi packs for a couple of bucks and 10, 20, 15, 20 bucks or something. And I think that's what Target does, if I'm not mistaken. They sell a lot of the multiple type packs, and
Yeah.
supposedly they have a good selection. And there were things on YouTube, even how to look through a sealed pack or try to manipulate it to see what cards are in there, make sure you get the right pack and everything. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess when it comes to collectibles and things, I have a lot of cards myself. I should sift through them and see if I could take advantage of this market. Apparently, it's red hot. So, and we've seen the card business sort of follow, not like the stock market, but it's had huge ebbs and flows, high
Yep.
points and low points. It was at a low point for many years before the pandemic. It was almost, not something that anybody wanted to do. And for some reason, with the pandemic, it became a hot commodity again. So we'll see how long it lasts.
Well, I guess people were at home, nothing, they got nothing to do, and they picked up their old baseball cards, started going through it, and then
And it's a
maybe
new, yeah, it's a new group of collectors as well, like a new generation of collectors.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, amazing how these things go in cycles, and we'll see what happens with that. But like you said, it's a shame that we've come to this where they have to pull these things. And Rich, Major League Baseball's up to their old tricks again. The Oakland Athletics are waiting a decision from the city of Oakland. They have a proposal out for a $12 billion mixed-use development, which includes a new waterfront stadium at Oakland's Howard Terminal. But Major League Baseball has encouraged the Athletics to look into the possibility of relocation. Uh, Years ago, you'd never read anything like that. They wanted to keep a team in a certain spot. Now they're encouraging them to look for other locations.
Yeah.
I I don't get it. That's according to Jeff Passan from ESPN. Um, I don't. Again, I don't know what the league is doing. They say the likeliest possibility would be Las Vegas. The NFL moved to Vegas. Maybe MLB now wants a team in Vegas. Being that the Oakland Raiders moved, the Oakland Athletics would move to Vegas as well. It just seems very odd, the things that they do with Major League Baseball.
Well, in this case, I think it's more of a situation where Oakland's dragging its feet, the city of Oakland, that is. We've seen a couple different announcements over the last few years that a new stadium is going to be planned, uh, different sites. I think last week on our show, we even talked about, or 2 weeks ago, a show where Oakland, uh, the Oakland A's brought forward an offer from the city to move to a
Mhm.
certain section, brand new stadium, $1 billion plus, maybe even $2 billion stadium. But then it's a lot of talk. So the team is more than done with the current stadium, and they're not getting the action from Oakland, who keeps dragging their feet. So I can almost see why, MLB would be giving them the green light. Hey, if they're going to do it, do it. But don't let us wait another couple years for this. This is something that's got to be done as soon as possible. I've never been to Oakland, but they say it's not very nice, the stadium.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I kind of see this as a good thing for the sport, maybe. Maybe not for Oakland, but the city's got to be behind it too a little.
No, yeah. Look, I can understand it, why they're doing it. I just don't understand baseball having something like that come out.
Yeah.
That was usually something that was done, in a private phone call to the owner, or whispered in people's ears, or we're not backing it, but you should be looking somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um, it just seems odd to me that they would do this, because then how do you go back to Oakland and say we want people to stay, and the team to stay here? You know what I mean? It just seems odd that Major League Baseball would say such a thing. And I think they want to get a team in Vegas. That's what I'm thinking, and they probably do not, or are not prepared yet to expand. Or maybe they are, and if they figure they get a current team in Vegas, that opens up somewhere else for Portland or something like that to get a team, in Montreal. I don't know. Uh, it just I just don't know what they're doing. Why they allow themselves uh to allow something like that to slip out. That's all.
Right. I I kind of like it. It sort of
Okay.
reminds me of I like to hear these things because just 2 weeks ago in the press, it was reported, oh, the Oakland A's are going to have this wonderful lavish stadium. It's a little like pressure on Oakland now. Okay, like deliver what you're promising here. 2 years ago, they announced the same thing. If you remember, there was all
Yeah.
kinds of artist renderings, how it's going to look, what it's going to be like, and then that got poo pooed. They want to set a time limit on it. Like get us done soon, or else we're going to have to move. And I think that's a good thing. You know, put it out there, let people know what's going on. And if they have to move to Vegas, then so be it. I'm for that. I've been to Vegas a few times. I think it would go over well there. And you gotta give the players an equal opportunity to have a nice stadium.
Oh, without a doubt.
If it was a place like Philadelphia or even New York, the same thing would be, hey, that stadium's crap. You have to do something about it. And Philadelphia, Veterans Stadium, it had deteriorated to the point of ridiculousness years prior to them imploding it, but they made a decision. The Phillies did, we're going to build across the street from it. And, now 15 years later, the stadium's still state of the art.
Yeah, yeah. Well, same thing. Connie Mack Stadium. Remember how bad that was? That was
I don't remember that
well,
one.
okay. All right, Shea Stadium.
Okay.
Well, some of those old fields though were pretty neat. Crosley Field was pretty cool in Cincinnati, and not that I was ever there, but just watching it on TV. And of course, Forbes Field in Pittsburgh was pretty cool. Um, but time marches on, and those are two stadiums ago. Actually, Pittsburgh had Three Rivers, and now they have PNC Park, and Philly had the Connie Mack Stadium, and then they had Veterans, and now they're out of that. And they're in Citizens Bank, is it now?
Yeah,
Is that
still
right? Yeah.
Citizens Bank Park. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it looks like I think because now these newer stadiums, I think they take better care of. Look at Dodger Stadium. They always took care of that. And
Yeah.
now they put in, like a big renovations, like $1 billion or something. They dug it all up and they put in new clubhouses underneath the stands and all of that kind of stuff. And even Wrigley Field with all the stuff they're doing there, the big time renovations.
Chicago. Yeah, I'd
Um,
love to go back to Wrigley. Just I was out there once too many years ago. I'd love to go back. Nothing like baseball outside at Wrigley. The people are different, in the Midwest. It just seems like they're really appreciative of baseball out there.
yeah, yeah, they say they're very nice. I know the Seven Line went there one time. The Seven Line is a Mets group that goes to a lot of games and used to go on the road with certain games. They'd make trips, and um, they went there and asked for a tour, and they said the ushers couldn't have been nicer. That the ushers were taking them around and took them on the field and uh, treated them like they were Cub fans almost. So um,
That's cool.
the New York and Philly are tough,
Tough towns.
tough towns. Fans are not the nicest people.
Right. Well, speaking of fans, one encouraged a player named Nick Castellanos. You may recall that he was suspended for a dugout clearing incident earlier in the season. The fan in the stands encouraged Castellanos, who was coming to bat, to imagine, quote, Rob Manfred's face on the baseball when he was up to bat here. And wow, that did it all. He hit a home run, won the game for the Reds, and afterwards went and fist bumped the fan who was sitting very close to home plate, thanking them for holding that picture up and encouraging them to think about Rob Manfred as he swung the bat. So very
That's a new
interesting there.
one.
The fan maybe
That's a new
investing in the
one on
win.
me, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe they all should do that,
Doesn't happen very often, but yeah, the players can hear you on the field, especially when you're that close. The person was only in the third row there. So they got a fist bump from Nick Castellanos.
Well, and with the lesser crowds now, you still can't have huge crowds yet. So with the lesser crowd, you can really hear people and things like that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, we'll cover the standings on the next show. This show went by so quick, but we want to thank you all for listening. And we'll also recap our listening stats for you. Like Gary said at the beginning of the show, go over to our Patreon page. If you don't know how to get there, you can email us, rich@baseballtalkradio.com or gary@baseballtalkradio.com, and anchor.fm/baseball talk radio show. There you can also contribute to the show, become a sponsor, a listening sponsor. We appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, and I hope that you'll tune in again next time we get together, and that'll be next Sunday. And for another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show, come join Rich and I as we cover the world of baseball and sometimes a little bit more. So have a great week, everybody. And Rich, you have a great week, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks. Do the same. Stay safe, everyone.